is we are going to talk about episode
Rings of
3.
Power, episode 3.
Yep, we are going to talk about episode 3. Mary, I want your first impressions on it off the top of your head.
Okay. It was fine. It was mid, as I expected it to be.
I like it mid.
It's whatever.
It's literal fast food. The problem is Tolkien shouldn't be fast food.
Yes, that's the inherent problem. It's what you've been saying. Yep. If it were an original,
it'd be great.
If it were an original creation and not derivative of Tolkien, which has such a hardcore fan base and so much history to it, and it has so much heart in the books. If it were just plagiarism even, and it were mid but tolerable, I'd be like, yeah. Fine, like maybe even a soft recommend from me. Yep. But I find it just disrespectful in and of itself that it's just so forgettable.
There is no Bronwyn in this, which is an automatic down for me. No Bronwyn.
Yeah, I knew you would be mad about that.
The lack of Bronwyn is a problem, considering she's the character I really like. I will say that Arondir redeemed himself in the personality department with his with what happened with him and his friends.
Really?
Oh, by the way, guys, we're gonna spoil it. The people don't care. Everyone's like, you're watching this, so we don't have to.
Yeah, they don't care about spoilers.
Arondir had 2 friends die, and I thought he actually did a very good job of emoting that he was not happy with what was going on.
What character is he?
He's an elf.
He was the one protecting Bronwyn, but he was what were they, guards at that in that village?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm barely gonna be able to explain this to you. This is very
there are so many geographical locations that it's difficult to remember. But Arondir was taken captive by orcs, and then him and some other elves are made into like work slaves for digging their tunnels.
The visuals on the orcs was good.
Yeah, but then that awful CGI orc dog.
That was the only.
That was the worst CGI I have ever seen in the show.
But the face CGI on the orcs was great. That was not all makeup.
Let's go back to the negative.
Yes.
The orc dog.
The orc dog.
The orc dog.
Yes.
What was that? Yes. It looked so bad. It was like Merlin level.
Oh, it wasn't that. Okay, it wasn't that bad.
No, it was like it was that bad.
It was bad, but it was not Merlin level bad.
It was awful.
Merlin level.
It was like laughably bad.
Merlin level CGI is literally so bad that it's good.
Is that like the benchmark for bad CGI?
For this genre.
I'll grant you that this CGI was not so bad it's good. It just looks lazy in comparison to the rest of the show.
Galadriel is still Galadriel.
No, she's not.
Galadriel sucks.
This is what I want to do. I want to argue with you about Galadriel because listen, this show it put the nail in the coffin of your argument that she's a girl boss.
I don't care. I'm saying she's unlikable. Not that she's a girl boss. I'm saying she sucks. As a character, she sucks. Your entire argument was because she is like a Mary Sue girl boss. She has no personality.
Exactly what you were saying.
She's dry, boring, has no personality. And that conversation for her and what is the guy's name? Elendil?
Elendil.
That guy's awesome. Okay, his acting was awesome. His scene with her where they're talking when she's like, I think did I write it down? I just remember writing it down. It's like him, cool, her, Sucksville, population her.
Sucksville. Love it.
Well, she's taken captive in a foreign nation. Why would she be happy?
She's annoying. The character sucks.
Give a real reason. A real one.
Even her anger comes across as boredom. Even her indignancy comes across as boredom. There's nothing redeeming about that character. I'm sorry. My personal opinion, nothing redeeming. But
just for the people out there who are saying that they're girl bossifying Galadriel,
I'm not saying that.
I want to point out, well, it's a common criticism, even if it's not yours. Arondir, with that stunt on the chains where he was getting, like in that fight scene with the orcs, his stunt climbing across the chains was exactly the same like level of high fantasy, like unrealistic physics that Galadriel did climbing on the sword of her companion. And
we don't have to say I will say that I enjoyed her her scene with the Queen because I love Cynthia Adai Robinson, and I thought she did a really good job as the Queen.
Her anger was just as bland as Galadriel's.
But no, it was not. It was regal in its annoyance.
Galadriel is also royalty.
I I will admit that it could be my fondness for the actress who portrays the queen that I liked it better. But let's move. We're never going to agree on this. What about the Harfoots?
I loved Nori, but I did find it confusing when her parents didn't defend her.
Yeah.
As the whole community was like railing against her, trying to decaravan her. I don't like the way her is that her stepmom?
I don't know if that's.
I think it's her stepmom.
I thought it was supposed to be I thought they were just ignoring.
No, because her father was talking to Marigold, the stepmom, about how they met after he lost his first wife.
Yeah, and I loved that exchange. I loved that whole
was
bit.
Cute,
I love it. Everything.
But Marigold treated Nori really badly when, like, she said, "You think you're special? You're just a child." It was like kind of weird to watch that when Marigold ordinarily in her other scenes was so pleasant and motherly.
I might have looked at it that differently because I kind of looked at it as like I didn't know whether she was actually supposed to be mom or stepmom, and knowing now that like I know that makes no sense given that they look nothing alike, but it's high fantasy. If they're ignoring the rules, why should I pay attention to the rules? But now knowing that if she was a step parent rather than a parent, I might look at that scene a little bit differently. Like that type of treatment from a parent might seem more normal because you're more comfortable with that child. Is like, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it seems like it would be more human. But her scenes, the scene where she's trying to steal the book from that was fantastic.
They did a good job of using Nori's scenes as tasteful comic relief.
And the speech that Burroughs gives is great.
Oh yeah.
I loved
just
it.
Remembered that.
Like I said, it's really funny that we criticize all these actors for just being horrible at promoting their movie and being extremely divisive. But then I'm enjoying the work they're doing, which is very, very hard to.
They're working against themselves. They're sabotaging Rings of Power with the way they are promoting it and the marketing.
That's for sure. Do you see that commercial where like the camera zooms past each character and they're like, "This is what it's like to be high on edibles at the mall." Walking through, and just people's faces keep. I gotta say, Elves, they're doing the Elves wrong. They're making them not have emotion. They're like, don't overdo it. The director's probably like, don't overdo it. So the Elves are all talking like this, but they don't actually feel anything.
I don't think the Elves have traditionally acted that way.
Also, there's a rumor, or people are saying that Halbrand becomes Sauron.
Halbrand does.
They're saying that he becomes Sauron later.
I gotta make a mildly, possibly even a hot take about Lord of the Rings in general. The first 3 movies, I thought they were like good, maybe great, but they were a lot of talking like this.
See, I love that,
and a lot of slow motion people riding.
I love it.
It was just cheesy.
They did that.
Wait, that's the slow motion horseback riding scene in this episode. I almost puked.
Yeah,
like
I rolled my eyes so hard I got a migraine.
When they zoomed in on Galadriel's face while she's like, in the wind, I was just like, she looks terrible.
Here's the thing. That was the most realistic she's looked because she looked like she was in pain, and given how her character always looks kind of vaguely annoyed and angry, her looking happy looked like it actually made her hurt to be happy.
She didn't look vaguely annoyed and angry. She's just annoyed and angry.
We're gonna find out Brett dated this chick.
She had to do therapy for this role, she said, because of past trauma, she was like flinching when people would come at her.
Did she say it was because of past traumas?
No. She said that she's always played roles where she's been traumatized. But she said in this, it's against your instinct to not flinch when a bunch of fully grown men attack you.
Yeah, if she's played roles where she's been traumatized, then she's been traumatized, is my point, by something in the past, which happened to be acting roles, apparently.
Okay.
And so she's suppressing that, and you can tell that she's not letting herself feel anything or feel as a result, because she doesn't want to flinch. She doesn't want to feel, and it's just depressing the character.
I think any failure to emote that you're pointing out is a failed attempt on the actress's part to convey nobility.
It could be that. I mean, it could be. I would even put this at the writer's feet for writing her this way, and I don't like it. I feel like that makes sense when you're in country and you're living a life of nobility and royalty, not somebody who's clearly on a mission to accomplish something that strikes to the core of her being.
Yeah.
And there's an argument to be made that she's closed herself off because it's what allows her to continue on her journey. I just personally, with this character, do not like it.
They could have made her like Siddhartha, which was the Buddha. He became the Buddha. Like, she becomes this stoic character. Instead of making her stoic from the beginning, they should have made her like a rough and tumble, like, idiot youth. And then you see her progression over the show. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, they did show her in the very first scene of the pilot as a child when she was free-spirited and happy. And then that's to show the contrast of after war, what that did to her and the loss of her brother. And now she's kind of portrayed in the stage of anger in her grief. Perhaps
their mistake there then was to not spend more time before the death of her brother and not rush through it so that it doesn't feel like it happened all of a sudden, and then you're just left with this character that's behaving that way. So
but the whole point is that she has more of a sense of urgency to find out where Sauron is.
I'd also like to point out that this episode felt faster paced, even though I do feel that it's still meandering. The pacing felt faster than the previous two.
I disagree, especially like the slow-mo scene.
That was horrible.
The scene where the orcs offer Arendir the water ration and they're like slowly passing it around. It was just...
It felt like when they cut the scenes,
paced.
they were actually doing stuff rather than in the previous episode where it was more just set up and talking. I didn't
like the dialogue between Galadriel and what's his name, Elendil.
I didn't. I liked him.
They need less elf on elf.
Why did he mention his son and daughter, and then she just completely ignored that he mentioned them?
There was something she said that really
I can run faster than any of your offspring or something. I don't know exactly what she said back, but he mentioned his son and daughter and you remind me of them.
Oh yeah, like my son runs blindly.
But it does sound like he's artificially trying to ingratiate himself to her.
I liked it.
To convince her not to try to escape. Also,
the scene where Halbrand broke the dude's arm against the wall was freaking great.
Oh, I loved that.
Yeah.
That fight scene was cool.
Yeah. So I don't hate it. I still think that they've handicapped themselves extremely by making it a Lord of the Rings property and not just making something different and giving these characters different names. Either go all in and make it a retelling of an actual Tolkien work and not in obscure appendices.
They obviously have money to throw around. But just seeing its failures in casting and in like the CGI, for instance, it's such simple errors that they definitely have the funds to fix.
Also, I want to
point out, but they're lazily leaving them in.
The lady who plays Nori, she looks like. Do you know who Polly Perrette is? She played Abby on NCIS. She's like she looks like a 30 years younger version of that actress. It was like very jarring to me. But you're right. There's absolutely like a weird sense of like easily fixed mistakes. There was another funny spot of like there was really decent CGI while they're on the boat, and then there's like one shot where the water just looked horrible, and that's the stuff
you're even more perceptive to that than I am, and I'm still noticing it.
And that stuff tends to bother me more than it should. If I'm in the mode of reviewing, if I'm just watching something, I can let that slide. But when we're reviewing it, I'm like, gotta write it down. That was stupid. Why did they do that? They could have fixed that.
Yeah. What would you rate it?
This episode, 4
out of 10.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Is that just in general in the world or relative to the other episodes?
Oh, it's worse than episodes 1 and 2.
I think it's better than episode 2, but not as decent as episode 1.
What would you rate episode 1?
I'm going to give it an overall score so far that it hasn't moved my needle very much further. I'm still sitting at what did I give it before? Like a 5?
The premiere episodes we gave all like a 5 or a 6.
I would say I would leave mine in the same area. There. I will say that her scene, Galadriel and Hal like at the end, I liked her in that.
Dude, Galadriel was the most boring character in Lord of the Rings. She come in and talk like this, or to be just her thoughts
Perhaps
in her face, her boring ass face.
Maybe
You're
it's
like,
the
oh my
act.
God.
This could be my bias against the actress. Maybe if this exact same role was being portrayed by a different actress that I felt embodied that character better. Because one thing this show does suffer from is none of the actors have the gravitas of the film stars that were in the movies. So
Elijah Wood, dude.
Yeah, it feels like you're watching a lot of fan fiction, like people who are like what's his name? What is I was
Elendil
looks like discount Viggo Mortensen. He really does.
Interesting. They don't have emotions in their eyes. The elves, they're missing it. Orlando Bloom knew how to feel. Yeah. Even though he was an elf, you could tell he had like buried emotions. These guys are just like static. They look like
Lenny Henry as Sadak Burrows actually does convey a decent amount of emotion. Does a really good job.
Which character is he?
He's Sadak Burrows.
I gotta look it up.
I agree with you about it feeling like fan fiction, especially with the so-called Easter eggs that they
don't do
include.
the Easter eggs.
Like they included Elendil and his son Isildur because they're distant ancestors of Aragorn. Like, that just feels so shoehorned in.
It's like when they had
How
Anakin
much of
Skywalker
this is-
build C-3PO.
How much of this is sourced
Or-
from Tolkien's writing?
What's word? Like, did you see, like, what did they do in like the Han Solo movie where they explain where he got the? It's horrible.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's bad. So like they don't need to do that stuff. You don't need to explain everything with Easter eggs. It's not necessary.
And they were related the whole time. And then at the end, they wake up and it was all a dream. Like, come on, guys. It's stupid tropes.
I would leave my rating at a 5 for this show. I will say that I'm not pausing it very much, and I'm making it through the episode, which is that's actually high praise from me. But they immediately lose those points back by making it a Lord of the Rings property when it doesn't need to be a Lord of the Rings property. So
It needs to be, though, so they can get more money.
So they can get more money, exactly.
Did they buy is that what it is? Is Amazon bought the IP?
Yeah.
They bought
$250 million
for the just
for
to the family.
the rights to this, to make this show.
Oh, they don't own it. They just own the rights.
They spent $1 billion to make it.
And 250 of it was to buy the rights?
What went to the family of Tolkien?
Technically not a whole billion, but
Close.
Next season, they've already spent money on the next season.
There you go.
Then
so
it's $1 billion.
$50 million an episode.
Are they gonna make the money for this? I doubt it.
I mean, how do you even judge that? By new subscriptions?
We're going to
How
see
the
a
hell would
drop
you
in
know?
viewership from episode 2 to 3.
That's what happened to
Majorly, I bet.
House of the Dragon fell sharply in episode 3.
Was it good?
Did.
I heard that was the best episode.
That's what I've heard as well. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen episode 3.
haven't watched that either.
But that's
I'm gonna watch it.
I might binge it if it turns out good, but I can't be the whole, like, I'm waiting for the next piece of crap they're going to shove in my mouth. I can't wait. You know, I'm like,
I love that.
got too much
I love
time
when
on my
it's
hands.
like week to week and you're just dying for it.
If it's amazing, but I feel like a slave when I'm in that state, when I'm like, you know what's great in reality? The next TV show next week. I'm like, dude, come on, man. Look around at your friends and like make a TV show. Do something, you know.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having something that you really enjoy, but that's it is weird. It is funny how, like, with the expansion of streaming services and the amount of money that's being spent on these properties, we are no longer getting as many shows binge delivered. Netflix is one of the ones that's still delivering new episodes all at once.
Peaky Blinders.
I believe Sandman is coming out weekly, but in general they're coming out weekly because they understand that if you drop all 8 or 10 episodes at once, all the buzz is gone.
And
in
they'll
less than 2
subscribe
weeks.
for a month. They'll
And then
watch
they're
all of
gone.
them, and then
Yeah.
yep.
That's why Netflix, they broke up Stranger Things season 2 or the most recent season into 2 parts to keep people subscribed.
No, they've been doing that since Mad Men. Now they add like 2 more episodes to the whole season, quote unquote, and then they do like 6 episodes half the season, 6 episodes the other half.
Keeps you subscribed.
Hey.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.